What's going on out there? I'm your host, Talking Face, and this could be news brought to you by Royal Family Studios. Are y'all ready to go back to normal? Are y'all over this whole COVID-19 coronavirus thing? And just want to go back to your regular, everyday life without a mask? Well, go get vaccinated. That's what Dr. Fauci, our fearless leader, said do, and then we can go back to normal. Until he changed his mind, and now everyone's just frustrated, including senators. One in particular is Senator Jim Jordan, who just wanted to know, can we have a timeline on when can we get back to normal? And Dr. Fauci didn't answer.
When is the time? Well, in your written statement, you say, now is not the time to pull back on masking, physical distancing, and avoiding congregate settings. When is the time? When do Americans get their freedom back? Can you put your microphone on, please?
Right. When we get the level of infection in this country low enough that it is not a really high threat.
What is low enough? Give me a number. What I mean, we had 15 days to slow the spread, turned into 1 year of lost liberty. What metrics, what measures, what has to happen before Americans get their freedoms?
My message, Congressman Jordan, is to get as many people vaccinated as quickly as we possibly can to get the level of infection in this country low that it is no longer a threat. That is when. And I believe when that happens, you will see.
What determines when?
I'm sorry.
What? What measure? I mean, are we just going to continue this forever, or when do we get to the point? What measure? What standard? What objective outcome do we have to reach before Americans get their liberty and freedoms back?
You know, you're indicating liberty and freedom. I look at it as a public health measure to prevent people from dying and going to the hospital.
You don't think Americans' liberties have been threatened the last year, Dr. Fauci? They've been assaulted. Their liberties have.
I don't look at this as a liberty thing, Congressman Jordan.
Well, that's obvious.
As a public health thing.
Now, this happened a few weeks ago, and a lot of things have changed. Well, not really. People still have to wear masks. People are getting vaccinated, but at a lower, slower rate. And now Dr. Fauci, our fearless leader and the ruler and czar of everything pandemic-like, says, you know what? We're just going to make it seasonal. So you just have to wear your mask every other season or whatever. But now, the people want to get to the nitty-gritty, to the origins of this disease. And Senator Rand Paul had the opportunity to ask Dr. Fauci a question, and like everything that Dr. Fauci does, he refuses to answer and says, you don't know, I'm way smarter than you, no matter how many scientists you have that have your back. Nope, I'm Dr. Fauci.
Gain-of-function research, as you know, is juicing up naturally occurring animal viruses to infect humans. To arrive at the truth, the U.S. government should admit that the Wuhan Virology Institute was experimenting to enhance the coronavirus's ability to infect humans. Juicing up superviruses is not new. Scientists in the U.S. have long known how to mutate animal viruses to infect humans. For years, Dr. Ralph Barrick, a virologist in the U.S., has been collaborating with Dr. Shi Zhengli of the Wuhan Virology Institute, sharing his discoveries about how to create superviruses. This gain-of-function research has been funded by the NIH. The collaboration between the U.S. and the Wuhan Virology Institute continues. Doctors Barrick and Shi work together to insert bat virus spike protein into the backbone of the deadly SARS virus, and then use this man-made supervirus to infect human airway cells. Think about that for a moment. The SARS virus had a 15% mortality. We're fighting a pandemic that has about a 1% mortality. Can you imagine if a SARS virus that's been juiced up and had viral proteins added to it, to the spike protein, if that were released accidentally? Dr. Fauci, do you still support funding of the NIH funding of the lab in Wuhan?
Senator Paul, with all due respect, you are entirely and completely incorrect that the NIH has not ever and does not now fund gain-of-function research in the Wuhan Institute.
Do they fund
of Virology.
Dr. Barrick?
We do not fund.
Do you fund Dr. Barrick's gain-of-function research?
Dr. Barrett does not doing gain-of-function research, and if it is, it's according to the guidelines, and it is being conducted in North Carolina,
You
not
don't think
in
inserting
China.
a bat virus spike protein that he got from the Wuhan Institute into the SARS virus is gain of function?
That is
You would be
not-
in the minority because at least 200 scientists have signed a statement from the Cambridge Working Group saying that it is gain of function.
Well, it is not. And if you look at the grant and you look at the progress reports, it is not gain of function, despite the fact that people tweet that.
So
they
do
write
you still
about it.
support sending money to the Wuhan Virology Institute?
We do not send money now to the Wuhan
Do you
Virology
support
Institute.
sending money? We did under your tutelage. We were sending it through EcoHealth. It was a sub-agency
Right.
and a sub-grant. Do you support the money from NIH that was going to the Wuhan Institute?
Let me explain to you why that was done. The SARS-CoV-1 originated in bats in China. It would have been irresponsible of us if we did not investigate the bat viruses and the serology to see who might have been
Or
infected.
perhaps it would be
in China.
irresponsible to send it to the Chinese government that we may not be able to trust with this knowledge and with this incredibly dangerous viruses. Government scientists like yourself who favor gain-of-function research.
I don't favor gain-of-function research in China. You are saying
naturally.
things that are not correct.
Government defenders of gain-of-function, such as yourself, say that COVID-19 mutations were random and not designed by man. But interestingly, the technique that Dr. Barrick developed forces mutations by serial passage through cell culture that the mutations appear to be natural. In fact, Dr. Barrick named the technique the no-see-'em technique because the mutations appear naturally. Nicholas Baker in the New York Magazine said nobody would know if the virus had been fabricated in a laboratory or grown in nature. Government authorities in the U.S., including yourself, unequivocally deny that COVID-19 could have escaped a lab. But even Dr. Shi in Wuhan wasn't so sure. According to Nicholas Baker, Dr. Shi wondered, could this new virus have come from her own laboratory? She checked her records frantically and found no matches. That really took a load off my mind, she said. I had not slept for days. The director of the gain-of-function research in Wuhan couldn't sleep because she was terrified that it might be in her lab. Will you, in front of this group, categorically say that the COVID-19 could not have occurred through serial passage in a laboratory?
I do not have any accounting of what the Chinese may have done, and I'm fully in favor of any further investigation of what went on in China. However, I will repeat again, the NIH and NIAID categorically has not funded gain-of-function research to be conducted in the Wuhan Institute of Virology.
You do support it in the U.S. We have 11 labs doing it, and you have allowed it here. We have a committee to do it, but the committee has granted every exemption. You're fooling with Mother Nature here. You're allowing super viruses to be created with a 15% mortality. It's very dangerous. I think it was a huge mistake to share this with China, and it's a huge mistake to allow this to continue in the United States. And we should be very careful to investigate where this virus came from.
Dr. Fauci is arrogant. He is becoming more and more power hungry. And do y'all think that it's kind of weird that Dr. Fauci is the only person from Trump's administration that still has a job? And also, just to add a little insult to injury, he's also the highest paid federal employee. I don't like him as a person, and I think he's a liar. And for the mainstream media, the leftist politicians, to just hold him in such high regard when other doctors that are more capable and that actually see patients tell the truth about this disease, and at the same time, when they're saying something that is different from Dr. Fauci, even though we know for a fact that Dr. Fauci flip-flops, but those doctors get pulled from the pretty much general public view. Like, you're no longer able to say anything dissenting that has not been cleared by Dr. Fauci, and it's disgusting. And he shows how he feels about the people of this country when he laughs and smirks and even talks down to politicians, well, these senators, just for asking a question. I will leave the videos from these hearings in the description box below. Even to the point where he dismisses the evidence. But that's all I have for you today. I'm your host, Talking Face, with Royal Family Studios. This could be news. Remember to do the YouTube thing, like the video, subscribe to the page, hit the bell for notifications, drop a couple comments, and let's discuss. What do you think? Do you think Dr. Fauci is the smartest man in the world and he knows everything? Or do you think He's starting to sound like he's full of it. But that's all. Y'all stay safe, stay prayed up, do your own research. Peace.
We've seen 1,227 deaths in the state of California with a possible incidence or prevalence of 4.7 million. That means you have a 0.03 chance of dying from COVID-19 in the state of California. 0.03 chance of dying from COVID in the state of California. Does that necessitate sheltering in place? Does that necessitate shutting down medical systems? Does that necessitate people being out of work?